Hello! I just got back from a trip abroad recently where I was away for around 9 days, and I was completely delighted / intimidated by the amount of book post that had come through my letter slot while I was away. I could barely open my front door because on the floor on the other side was this huge stack of book post that publishers have kindly sent me, and I thought rather than opening them all up on my own, why not do it on camera, and then we can all share in the delight and surprise of whatever books are inside. And I really don't know what these books are because sometimes the publishers will email me and tell me they're sending me a book, and then other times they just send it out of the blue, and it's a total surprise. But I'm so grateful to be sent so many books because it honestly feels like Christmas morning when I open up a big batch of book post because it is such a delight. So some of these books I may have to look up what they are and read up a bit more about them. So this first package comes from Dialogue Books, and I know they always publish really interesting and exciting new literature. So let's see what this first book is, and it is A House for Miss Pauline by Diana McCaulay. This is a novel about a woman named Pauline who grows up in a rural Jamaican village, and she is nearing the age of 100, but she gets this eerie sense that she's not going to quite reach that point. So she wants to make peace with her life and all of the many secrets that she's acquired over the course of her life. So I think it's recounting her life story. Marlon James is a fan of this author and says, nothing less than the brutal, turbulent, wild, and haunted history of Jamaica itself. And Monique Raffi says, one of Caribbean's finest writers. And also, Leonie Ross, who wrote the fantastic novel This One Sky Day, says of this book, it's fragile and foul-mouthed. Miss Pauline is my new heroine. A House for Miss Pauline is a lush undergrowth of a book, gazing unblinkingly at Jamaica in all its beauty and beastliness. Okay, next up, and some of these boxes I have to tear down this strip to open them. So this one is another hardback. Oh, it's Rapture by Emily Maguire. This is a book that Anna James predicted would be on the Women's Prize long list. Did not make that, but I am very excited to read it. So I think this is set in ancient times. Close. This is set in 9th century Mainz, the heart of the Holy Roman Empire, and follows a girl who's without a mother, who disguises herself as a monk to enter a monastery. And what a striking cover this is. Emily Maguire is an Australian author and journalist, which is always really exciting to see, and it is endorsed by Charlotte Wood, who wrote one of my favorite books that was published last year, Stoneyard Devotional. And she says of this book that drawing on history, legend, speculation, and gossip, Maguire's medieval girl pope story is made of many things: flesh and earth and blood, ambition and abnegation, rage and transcendence, all pouring into this pagan biblical strange and mighty work from an imagination in soaring flight. Another strip to open, and what's going to be next? Oh, Kristen Arnett's new novel called Stop Me If You've Heard This One. I love the cover of this. This is a novel about the tragic comic life of a professional female clown in Florida and how she meets an older magician who is a lesbian, and the kinship they form with one another. And I've been wanting to read Kristen Arnett for a really long time. You know, she's one of those authors that I feel like I've never actually read her books, but I've always got the sense that I will absolutely love her writing. Here we have Mrs. Jekyll by Emma Glass. Okay, I absolutely loved Emma Glass's debut novel Peach. It's such an inventive and striking story, and this novel follows a school teacher who is dying and how her husband is trying to support and care for her, but her sister-in-law definitely is not. And so it's exploring that tension, and is, of course, a play of upon the classic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The great George Saunders says of Emma Glass that she is an immensely talented young writer. Her fearlessness renews one's faith in the power of literature. I had no idea that she had a new novel coming out. This is so exciting. I'm having a really high hit rate, so let's see what is next. The Life, Old Age, and Death of a Working Class Woman by Didier Eribon. This is a nonfiction book where the author gives an account of how her mother was losing her cognitive abilities, and she and her siblings decided to place their mother in a care home, after which she shortly died. And so it's examining specifically her mother's life, but looking more at how we care for the elderly in this late stage of life. And so it sounds like an incredibly poignant book. It also comes with endorsements by really great individuals, and I don't always chime with like endorsements from other authors, but these authors I really respect. So Annie Arnett says Eribon offers up a magnificent example of an enlightened life liberated by theory, written in a style that deftly moves between the intimate, the social, and the political. And Edouard Louis says, I was overwhelmed by this book. I felt I was reading the story of my life. Next up. Calls may be recorded for training and monitoring purposes by Katharina Volckmer. That name sounds familiar. Yes, Katharina Volckmer wrote this incredibly powerful brief novel called The Appointment, which I absolutely loved. It's a very how do I describe it? It's a very bracing book, very straightforward in its opinions, and very frank. A very frank book. That's a good way to put it. The Appointment was a very divisive book, but I personally absolutely loved it. Okay, I think this novel is set in a call center where some of the employees are listening to calls that some of their colleagues received, and are evaluating and judging each other's tone and the things that they say on the phone to customers and people that call their call center, and kind of monitoring them in this way, but is also very frankly sexual in describing their experiences. So another novelist that I've read before, and I had no idea that she has a new book out, and Colleen Tobin says that this is highly original. It gives me pleasure on every page. See, it's really like Christmas morning opening all these packages. This next one I need to open with some scissors because it has this kind of glue on the package, which is very difficult to open. I've just found it's much easier just to cut it open without cutting the book, obviously. So this is Bloody Awful in Different Ways by Andrev Walden. So this is a novel about a boy named Andrev who has 7 fathers over the course of 7 years in his childhood, as his mother meets man after man, and the experiences that he has with all of these many different men, and what this teaches him about masculinity and manhood in general. This was a bestseller in Sweden, and it won the 2023 August Prize, which is Sweden's most prestigious literary award. Another package that I have to cut open, and it's a bit arduous doing this, but honestly it is much easier and less messy doing so. So this book is Jane and Dan at the End of the World by Colleen Oakley. So this is about a couple named Jane and Dan who are celebrating their 19th anniversary of being married together, but they their relationship is in a very shaky place. And while they are celebrating at a restaurant, it is invaded by climate activists who take them hostage. And Jane is a writer, and these events feel eerily similar to something that she would write in her book. So I think it's a kind of comic novel that is also commenting upon relationships and love and current events. Next up. Okay, there is The Treasures by Harriet Evans. This is a new family saga, mostly about a girl named Alice, who's just about to turn 16, and she's going through a lot of emotional turmoil while sorting through all of the mementos and precious memories from her past. But it's also about a man named Tom who can never really seem to hold on to anything that he loves and that he cares about the most. Now, really interestingly, it says that this is the beginning of a sweeping, multi-generational family trilogy layered with unforgettable characters and entwined with secrets from the Sunday Times best-selling author Harriet Evans. I've never read this author before. The story sounds quite sentimental, but something that I might get really swept up in if it really emotionally chimes with me. So let me know if you've ever read Harriet Evans. Next up, and this feels like a hardback, I think. Let me see. My fingers are cutting the scissors. Okay, I got them out. This is, it's the 20th anniversary edition of Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. And okay, so I absolutely love Ishiguro's work. This novel I've always felt quite conflicted about, and I know for some readers this is their favorite novel by him. But yeah, when I read it, it just didn't. I keep coming back to this phrase, but like totally emotionally chime with me. Even though I really was respected what he was doing in the story, and I thought it was a really creative approach to looking at like relationships and the state of human existence. And I'm not going to get into any spoilers because there's a big twist in this novel. If you have not read it, then it's probably best if you don't know what it is. But if you have, you know what it is. And yeah, so I will be really keen to read it again to see if I have a different response to it this time. But I've just been talking about with some members of my book club about Ishiguro because one of the members has been reading all of his work and then ranked them all. And I'd love to do my own ranking of all of Ishiguro's work at some point. I ought to add that my absolute favorite novel by Ishiguro is The Unconsoled, which is this big, strange masterpiece. But this is a really interesting new paperback where there's a kind of like flap that opens up to reveal a cassette tape. Okay, final package. I'm gonna really try not to get my fingers caught in the scissors this time. Okay, I didn't. Phew. And what is this? This is Deep House by Jeremy Atherton Lynn. And obviously this is an advanced proof copy, so this isn't the final cover. So I'll look up what the final cover is and put it here on the screen. So Jeremy Atherton Lynn wrote a fantastic nonfiction book called Gay Bar, which I loved reading, which is an account and survey of a number of different gay bars around the world that he visited, and his understanding of their historical importance and their place in the community, and looking at different political issues involved in the evolving culture of gay life over the past few decades, and his personal experience of it, but also like considering larger issues to do with the community. And this new book, Deep House, is looking much more intensely at his personal life and relationship, where he, as an American man, formed a relationship with with a British man and about their struggle to stay together through different periods of time and political change and living in amongst different communities and finding a place and home together. And so I can't wait to read more about his life. And he writes in this very witty and wise way, which is so engaging. And so, yay, this is very exciting. And what a fantastic haul I have here. I can't wait to start reading some of these books. A lot of wonderful surprises here. So this was just a pleasure to open all these and find all of these. So I'd love to hear if you have read any of these books, or if you're interested in reading any of them now, please let me know about that in the comments below. Or if you've received any new great books recently that you want to let me know about and that you're also excited to read. But I hope you're doing well, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.